Can we do it in the Buddhist way? It means that we put down our camera and listen. And every time we hear the sound of bell, we enjoy breathing in and breathing out and allow the tension to be released from our body. Five days ago, we had a press conference like that in Thailand. We had journalists from the Bangkok Post, The Nation, and so on, and we practiced like a session of meditation during the interview. Many of you are journalists and Buddhists at the same time, and I believe that we can do it in a Buddhist way so that we can understand better each other's. I remember that the last time I visited India, the Times of India invited me to be guest editor for one day, and the edition of that day is called Peace Edition, the day of commemoration of Mahatma Gandhi. So that morning I came to the Times of India as guest editor, and I was accompanied by many monks and nuns to help me edit that version called Peace version, Peace edition of the Times of India. If you can sit down and relax, I will tell the story. When we sat down, bad news arrived on the table. There was bombing and many people died in India. And one of the editors asked me the question, how can a journalist react on a morning like this? There's so many bad news. And apparently every journalist was disturbed by the bad news. And they were not calm enough in order to make a good report on what just happened. When I hear one of the editor asking that question, I practice breathing in and out in order to calm myself. And I suggest that the editors and the journalists who were present to practice the same. The problem is that how can we report that kind of news that will not make people suffer too much? If we are calm enough, and then we may have the time to look deeply to ask ourselves the question as how people did things like that, bomb and kill so many innocent people. Actions like bombing and killing is not possible if there is no anger, no fear, no misunderstanding in us. So the practice of mindful breathing and releasing the tension helps journalists to calm down and to see clearly as why people have been doing things like that, killing innocent people. If we report about the event in such a way that we water the seed of anger and fear and despair in people, we are not doing a good job. By writing such an article, we water the seed of anger, fear and despair in our readers, and we will create a collective energy of fear, anger and despair that will be very destructive. A reporter, if he knows and she knows how to calm herself and look deeply, will report exactly what has happened, but in such a way that help water the seed of understanding and compassion in those who read their report. So the Buddhist practice can help greatly journalists so that they can report in such a way that create more understanding and compassion and reduce the amount of fear and anger and despair in the population. I remember when the event of September 11 happened in America, I was there and I witnessed the very that kind of powerful collective energy of fear and anger in the American population after the bombing of the Twin Towers. I talked to a group of 4,000 people coming to listen to a Dhamma talk, including many journalists, and I said that America has to calm herself down in order to behave, to act wisely, otherwise there will be war and destruction. I found the situation in America at that time very dangerous because I can feel the huge collective energy of anger and fear in every American citizen. And I knew that if America was not able to calm herself down, there will be a war very soon. And with the journalists in Bangkok, I told them the same. I said that in the opposition party and in the party in power, there is still a lot of anger and fear and misunderstanding. That is why so far reconciliation has not been possible. And Thailand is a Buddhist country, and if people know how to make good use of the Buddhist practice, they will be able to calm down the anger, the fear, the suspicion, and then reconciliation will be much more easily realized. And I spent some time elaborating on the kind of practice that each politician, each political party should follow in order to calm down and to get more understanding and compassion before they can help the other party to change. And the journalists who were present at that press conference promised me that they will not read the report right away. After they go home, they will spend 5 days reflecting, doing walking meditation, mindful breathing, in order to look deeply, more deeply into the problem before writing an article that can help every politician and both political parties in conflict. There is conflict everywhere between father and son, mother and daughter, husband and wife, and the circumstance that communication has become impossible. People cannot talk to each other. They do not know how to release anger and misunderstanding. That is why reconciliation has not been possible within the circle of families. We know that by experience that Buddhist practice can help heal the individual. It can help heal the family and the society if we have the time in order to learn and put into practice that kind of teaching. During 40 years of sharing the practice of Buddhism in the West, we have offered so many retreats of mindfulness, meditation that help many people to reconcile with themselves and bring back happiness, to bring husband and wife back together, father and son, daughter and mother, and the miracle of reconciliation always happen in our retreats. And each retreat offer in America, Canada, France, Germany always has about 1,000 people practicing together, living together in 6 days or 7 days. and the time is enough for them to release the tension, to transform, to heal themselves, and to have enough compassion and understanding in order to help them to reconcile with the other member of the family, and so on. And beside the retreats offered to families, we offer retreats for school teachers so that they can master the techniques of releasing the tension, to heal, and to have more understanding and compassion so that they can bring that kind of practice into school and help the young people to suffer less and to do better the work of learning. More than the number of ex-soldiers who shoot themselves by their own guns is more numerous than those who were killed in war, in the battlefield. So, and the Red Cross in America, they think that it would be helpful if war veterans and others in the army can learn the practice of Buddhism in order to suffer less and to heal. So the issue of healing is a very big issue in our society. Individuals have to heal themselves, families to have to heal themselves, political parties have to heal themselves, and we know that in the Buddhist teaching there is the practice of healing and transformation is very concrete, and we can make good use of the Buddhist teaching. In many Buddhist countries, Buddhism is losing ground and cannot serve the country as well as it did in the past. Young people do not want to become monks and nuns anymore, and when they have problems, they don't go to the monks. Instead, they go to psychotherapists, to the doctors, and Buddhism has lost its leading role in our society. The way we teach Buddhism and the way we practice Buddhism is not appealing to the younger generation anymore. They don't want to come and practice with us. And the experience shows us that the young people, the young generation, they suffer a lot, and they need also the healing. And if they are given the kind of teaching and practice, they can help them to heal, and then they will come back to Buddhism very quickly. So during the 40 years of exile I spent in the West, we tried together with many friends to renew Buddhism, to share Buddhism, the practice of Buddhism in such a way that can help the younger generation to heal and to transform. And we know that the need to renew Buddhism is felt in every Buddhist country. And if we can come together, spending time together, we will find a way to do that, not only for the sake of Buddhism, but for the sake of our country, our society, our world. So the 40 years of sharing Buddhism and practicing Buddhism in the West has told us that Buddhism has a great power of healing, and the transformation, the renewing of Buddhism can help us to heal the society. And that's why the issue of how to renew Buddhism is a very basic and important issue. If we want to heal our family, to heal our society, Buddhism can really help. And Buddhism is able to go along with science. Buddhism has a good chance to renew itself, and the study and the practice of science and Buddhism together can help both traditions. And modern science is very different from classical science. And yet Buddhism, the way we teach and the way we practice are exactly the same as many hundred years ago. We have not been able to renew our way of teaching and practice. That is the truth. I just bring you one example. The manual we use in order to train novice monks is still a manual that was written 400 years ago. The 5 contemplations before eating are exactly the 5 contemplations that we used many hundred years ago. Well, the first step is that the self has to take initiative. I think you might like to organize a session of deep listening in which you can invite wise people in the country who have the power to understand and to listen. And then you invite those who think they suffer the most in the country to come and tell of their suffering, difficulties. On one side, the people who suffer have a chance to speak out, and on the other side, the wise people, the people who have the capacity to listen with compassion, they listen. And the session can be televised so that the whole country can attend. This is truly the Buddhist practice. You come home to yourself and listen to your own suffering in order to really understand the suffering in you. That's the first and the second noble truth. And the Buddhist way is that you can tell everything in your heart, everything you suffer from, but you should try to tell it in such a way that help other people to understand. Therefore, you try not to be too angry while you talk, not to condemn, not to accuse, so that what you say have a chance to be understood by the people who listen. And that in Buddhism we call loving speech. And for those who listen, they have to learn how to listen with compassion, not to interrupt people, even if they have a lot of wrong perceptions and anger and fear. If the people who express themselves feel that they are being listened to, they will suffer less after a few sessions of practice. The practice of listening to the suffering will bring understanding and compassion, because understanding suffering always brings compassion. And when the energy of compassion is born, it has the power to heal and to transform. Suppose the wife listen to the husband so that the husband can have a chance to tell all the suffering, all the difficulties that he has endured during so many years. And if the wife listen well, she will understand the suffering in her husband. And if she understands the suffering of her husband, she is no longer angry at him, and she will have the desire to do something, to say something in order to help her husband to suffer less. So if the self knows how to listen to her own suffering and understand the roots of that suffering, compassion will be born, and the self will suffer less, will have a clearer mind, will have more understanding and compassion that can help heal the self first. Because in the South, there is still misunderstanding between different sections of the population. There is power struggling, there is a division, there is fear, there is anger, and the best is not in. So if the South can generate the energy of understanding and compassion within herself, she's able to heal herself and get stronger in order to take the second step, helping the North to do the same. When mutual understanding and compassion has been able to heal the South, and the South is in a good situation to help the North to do the same thing. The truth is simple to see, because if there is still a lot of anger and fear and suspicion, you are not in a situation to do the work of dialoguing and reconciling. And to my understanding, the practice of Buddhism, the practice of deep listening and loving speech can help heal the whole country, and that is to make good use of Buddhism, because Buddhism had been the foundation of the Korean civilization and culture. And if we know how to make good use of that practice, we will be able to realize reconciliation, mutual understanding, and healing within the South. And then that will be the foundation for the South to help the North and to bring about reconciliation. If we still have a lot of fear and anger, we cannot do that. And that is why we have to find opportunities for political leaders and spiritual leaders to come together and discuss about how to organize the kind of practice that can help the country to heal and to be united again. Because they kill themselves because they don't know how to handle a strong emotion. And how to handle a strong emotion is easy enough for parents and teachers to learn. The Buddhist practice has two purposes. First of all, to generate the energy of joy and happiness. A good practitioner can generate a feeling of joy and happiness whenever she wants to. With the practice of mindfulness, of breathing and walking, this can be done without difficulties. The second thing that Buddhist practice can do is to handle how to calm down a painful feeling, a painful emotion, and finally to transform it. And in every retreat, we transmit to people the method of how to do these two things. Parents and school teachers need only 5, 6, or 7 days in order to learn that practice, in order to help them to know how to handle a strong emotion. And they can very well transmit that kind of practice to their children and their students. And one emotion is just one emotion. We are much more than one emotion. One emotion is something that comes, stay for a while, and finally has to go away. Why do we have to kill ourselves just because of one emotion? The young people should be told that truth, and then should be given the method of practice so that they can easily handle a strong emotion when it is about to manifest. So the issue of renewing Buddhism is a very important issue. If we know how to renew Buddhism, and then that kind of practice, that kind of teaching will be available to the young generation, and that will help them not to fall into despair and fear and anger. And as a journalist, you can also share dispense this kind of teaching and practice to your readers also.